Hey everyone and welcome. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot, and today's reading is all about what you're being guided to release or let go of. And so before we get into the pile selection, I'll just give a little bit of background about this reading and the intention for this reading, just so that you can get the most out of it. So this is going to be another timeless reading, meaning that whenever you happen to come across this video and watch it, whenever it finds you, excuse me, it's meant to be relevant to your current situation, whatever you're going through, and whatever pile you feel drawn to should be your message for that period in time. And it's also designed so that if you watch at any point in time and then you come back at another time and choose a different pile, that could very well have an additional message for you. And the reason that I decided to do this is because I've been talking to a lot of people who seem to really be going through it. Like there's kind of a lot of heaviness, there's a lot of challenge. A lot of us are going through like back-to-back struggles, and you know, some of them are on the smaller side, some of them are more major, like life challenges and shifts, and you know, it's a lot, and I think people are feeling a little bit worn down. And so I kind of figured that we would come at this from, as always, like a personal development standpoint. So the information that comes through, it's not going to be cut and dry, like a very obvious, very clear thing that you're supposed to be letting go of or working through, right, to move away from. They're going to be more broad and general I guess, areas of focus. So things to keep in mind as you're working through, because you know, this has a lot to do with healing. Like release has a lot to do with healing, and healing takes time. There's a lot of things that we have to kind of work through and release in order to heal and to move towards something better. So this is aimed just to kind of start bringing maybe these points of focus into your awareness, things that you can start becoming aware of and incorporating on a daily basis. But it's probably going to be a long-term energy. It's not necessarily going to be immediately that things are going to be improving or resolving, and not to oversimplify the whole process of development. Things do take time. But yeah, this is just designed to kind of illuminate that for you, and hopefully kind of get you started in terms of, you know, what to be aware of, what you might want to start moving away from, what isn't serving you, and then what we can move toward to start kind of bringing in more of what we do want to experience. So I've got 4 different piles for you. The selection is a little bit different today. All of the piles have already been shuffled and all the cards have come out as usual. Each pile is still associated with a different tarot deck, but that will be a mystery until you've chosen your pile. So I decided to pull these Work Your Light Oracle cards from each pile and let you guys select from there. So pile number 1, we have this Rose Quartz. Pile number 2, we have Amethyst. Pile number 3 is this little Selenite tower. And pile number 4 is this clear quartz. Right, so now is a great time to pause the video, take a moment to center yourself and see which pile is calling to you, and the timestamps are going to be in the description box below. So once you've made your selection, you can just scroll on down, hit the link, and that will take you right over to your reading, and I'll see you there. Hey there, pile 1. If you chose this rose quartz, then this will be your reading, and these will be your messages related to what you're being guided to release or let go of. And as I said in the intro, this is probably going to be more of a long-term energy, focused on personal development. So something that is going to probably take some time, and this is just meant to bring into your awareness how you can start becoming aware of the things that might be limiting you, or that you might be ready to kind of let go of in order to move towards something better and more aligned for you. So hopefully these messages will resonate. This is a general reading, so obviously take whatever does resonate, absolutely. And there might be some aspects to keep in mind as well. They may not resonate right now, but as you kind of progress along your journey, as I said, healing does take time, and this is really very much focused around the areas that will likely need healing for most of us. So we've got 3 tarot cards, and then the bottom of the deck, and then the 2 oracles, and the one you made your selection based on. So we'll get into it. So your oracle card is Yes. And your second oracle card is diving for light. I'm just showing you close up because I know sometimes it can be hard to see the details, especially with the lighting in here. Your first tarot card is the Nine of Pentacles. Second tarot card is the Page of Wands. Your third card is the Hierophant. And then the bottom of the deck was the Two of Wands. All right, so this is a really interesting energy. There's a lot of potential here, and the immediate vibe that I get is that, you know, there might be a fear of connecting with your potential, your highest possible outcome. And immediately the vibe that I'm getting is like self-limitations. And like limiting beliefs. So perhaps you've developed a way of moving through the world or approaching situations that is, you know, structured and kind of standardized, and it's worked for you thus far in a material sense. And maybe you're focused on kind of getting your stability in terms of your career and your money and even like home life and, you know, material possessions and so on. Maybe that's been a main focus, but it seems like there's some, you know, passion and fulfillment missing. And it seems kind of like in order to follow the path that you've kind of set out for yourself and to achieve the goals that you're wanting to achieve, there comes a certain amount of limitation in terms of how you can approach it or how you can carry that out, how you can accomplish that. And I think it might be dampening you a little bit. You know, I think it might actually be holding you back and hindering you, because with yes here, you're being encouraged to just say yes. And that's not like, you could take that literally, like the movie Yes Man, where he just like says yes to absolutely everything. And that can be like chaotic and problematic in its own right. But this is more, you know, saying yes to yourself. And in order to feel confident saying yes to yourself, you kind of have to have that relationship with yourself. You have to know, you know, what your intuition is trying to tell you, and you have to trust that that's right, and then to trust that it's okay. You know, it's okay to follow that path. And so I get the impression that maybe you've been telling yourself no a lot because you're trying to be practical. You know, you're trying to be practical, you're trying to be stable, you're trying to cultivate this successful life. And so the things that maybe your soul is really calling you to do, or maybe you're feeling really interested in, I have a feeling that you're kind of like putting that on the back burner, or you're sticking it on a shelf and saying like, no, I can't do that right now. And it could just be for practical reasons, but it also could be a fear, right? It could be a fear of connecting with yourself on that authentic level and really kind of stepping into that energy. It could be a fear of leaving your comfort zone, right? So the Two of Wands here, it's basically saying like you have opportunity, right? You have opportunity to move in a direction of your choosing. So are you going to, you know, stay in the comfort zone of what you know? And, you know, comfort zones can be kind of insidious places because we think that we're comfortable, we think that we're happy, but it's just because we're so protected from the things that scare us. And a lot of times the things that scare us are the things that are, you know, most important for our growth, right? We are scared because it requires us to make an adjustment either in, you know, our perspective or our approach or our actions. And that can be scary and uncomfortable, especially if we don't know what the outcome is going to be. And a lot of times, especially if it's something like an internal kind of longing or something that we feel like, wow, I'd really love to do that, but like it doesn't make sense, or I can't do it right now. That brings up a lot of fear. And so the comfort zone says, like, you just stay here, do what you've always done, and you'll be fine. And to a certain extent, that may be true, but you can't really connect with the depth and meaning of life when you stay in that spot. So it's basically asking you to be willing to sacrifice a little bit of that comfort and maybe that perceived stability and step into the unknown in spite of the fear to connect with whatever it is that you're longing to do, right? So there's like opportunity for adventure and, creativity and just a completely different experience than what you're having right now. But it needs to be a conscious choice, and you kind of have to be connected with yourself in order to really start moving along that path. So you're kind of at the beginning of the path, and you can keep striving for this like practical, stability, and keep going about things in a way that is designed to kind of curate this stable life on the outside. But you don't want to sacrifice your internal happiness and stability for that, right? And so especially with diving for light here, that's a really interesting concept, because a lot of the time, especially when things are feeling challenging, we're just looking for things to get better, right? Like we want to find the good, we want to see the good, we want the good to come to us. You're just looking for the light, right? You're looking for light, and you're trying to bring it into your life to balance out the things that are dark. And what this oracle is basically saying is that the light is within you, right? And so is darkness. And so darkness and light are inevitable. They're parts of us. They don't go away, and we have to acknowledge and accept them. But you kind of have to be willing to sit in that darkness and dive deep and work through it to find your light and to bring that out. So it's all within you. And yeah, like I just kind of feel like maybe what you're doing right now, especially in your external circumstances, even if it is bringing you stability and money and you're feeling good about that, it's like, I feel like it's not really aligned with what you feel you want. And I think that you're trying to like put a lot of emphasis onto maybe creating more stability. It's like maybe you think that this is an external problem that needs solving. So it's like, once I have that promotion, or once I have this X amount in my bank account, or once I get this new house, or like once we finish renovations, or whatever the case may be, I think you're hoping that that next thing, those next steps will bring you that satisfaction that you're looking for, and you'll feel more aligned. But it hasn't today, and it likely won't, because it looks like you're being called to really dig deep and connect with yourself. And to be honest with you, like there's a lot of healing to be done in doing that, right? And that's what diving for light is all about. It's not fearing your darkness, not fearing the struggle and the challenging thoughts or emotions that you might experience. It's knowing that those are actually markers, right? To help you learn more about yourself, because it's often the things that scare us the most that kind of point to, the areas for development that are most important, or even the things or the values that are most important to us. And so it's really about being able to trust that any kind of challenging experience, anything that feels really heavy and dark, it's there for a reason, right? And you might feel like you're being tested and things are not working out because you're on the wrong path, or because you're doing something wrong. And the presence of this oracle is basically saying that that is not the case. In fact, the reason that you are in this place, and the reason that you feel like you're struggling in this capacity, and you might feel resistant to, finding your own light, and you're looking for it in the world around you instead of turning within, it's actually because this is a big part of your path right now. Like, it's a testament to your growth that you've gotten to the point where it's like, now it's time to realize what's inside you and start bringing that out and start affecting your external world with all of the light and the beauty that's inside of you, right? That's going to help you move forward in alignment towards something that is really like positive and fulfilling. And it can be really difficult when you're experiencing challenging situations and feeling like you're kind of stuck in darkness, especially if there's like maybe some depression or like just dark thoughts. And just know, like, those aren't you, right? Like those are being brought up to be acknowledged and seen. And this is a part of your healing journey right now, to kind of accept that exists. And then once you've had time to kind of process that it's not reflective of you doing anything wrong, it's in it's being blocked, it's blocking your path for a reason so that you can kind of come to terms with it and move through it. And to move through it, you have to dig deep and you have to work, right? So with emotions, there's no way around it. You have to go through it, which is difficult and it's scary a lot of the time and it's uncomfortable. And so that's why we can avoid it. And it can be easier to focus on the external world and try to make everything kind of like perfect and wonderful. But ultimately we still have to tend to our inner world if what we're really looking for is like that passionate, happy, fulfilled life. And the other interesting thing with the Hierophant here is like, that's a major arcana card. So it's telling me that this is kind of like it's a big life lesson. It's a big opportunity for you to start connecting with something different. And so the idea is, if you are feeling boxed in, or perhaps the system of values that you have been operating under are kind of limiting your ways forward, then this is a really great time to start connecting with different perspectives, right? So different information, different opportunities. It could be religious in nature. It could be, like mindfulness. It could be seeking out a teacher. Obviously, we all have our own inner wisdom, but a lot of times it's about activation, right? So a lot of times we kind of have a sense that there's something within us, but we still have to learn how to decode that. So we're not necessarily looking for somebody to tell us what to do, and nobody really can, because we know what's best for us at the end of the day. But it's really about being open-minded and connecting with different information and different perspectives that might help activate you, that might resonate with you in a way that opens up doors that were previously closed, right? So if you're feeling limited and like, the vibe that I really get is like, well, we're here, we have to work, we have to make money, we've got to pay our bills, we've got to, do all this stuff and, have the nice house, have the nice car, have the family, have money in the bank for retirement. And it's like, it seems very, very focused on this stability, but it's coming from a place of like, it's kind of like life's a bitch and then you die, right? Like that's the vibe that I'm getting. And so it's telling me that like there's just this lack of fulfillment, and chances are there is a way for you to have the stability that you're looking for in the external world, but then also have the internal fulfillment, right? And a lot of times it's just a shift in perspective in terms of what's possible, how things can be done. There's an unlimited number of ways to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. And sometimes we fall into the trap of wanting things to be simple, or thinking like, well, I know what I want and I know how I want to get there, or I know the only way that I can get there, and these are the steps that I have to follow. And sometimes that works and it's great, but a lot of times it doesn't work. And then that just creates more resistance within us. And so it's kind of like, you might be surprised what perspectives resonate with you, right? And so it's like, if you're feeling limited and you're looking for a different way to go about things, this is a really, really great indicator that's the direction that you're kind of meant to head in, right? So maybe take a look at your beliefs, especially your beliefs around like money, career, what you're capable of in terms of stability, creating stability. And then look at your beliefs surrounding your own personal fulfillment, right? And see, like, is there anything that's limiting you? Is there anything that's holding you back? Is there anything that doesn't quite feel right or aligned? And you don't have to have the answer or the solution for that right now, but even just bringing that into your awareness, and that if it's not working for you, or if it hasn't worked for you, or even if it has, but it's not doing what you need it to, it's okay to let it go. And it's okay to connect with something or information or an approach that feels more aligned, right? So, but it's really about being open-minded and being willing to say yes to it. So for example, if you come across, like, this is what happened for me. I came across the Dalai Lama's wisdom. I came across a couple of books, and as I was reading it, I was like, wow, this is what I've always kind of felt. But I was like, no, this can't be true. Life can't work this way because everybody tells me it can't. And so it's kind of like sometimes you need to come across those things just to kind of confirm and bring you in touch with what you already feel is right. And the other thing with this diving for light is that whatever you're going through right now, whatever you're struggling with, especially if there's kind of some amount of heaviness or limitation around it, it might be accepted as something that's just crappy and something that you have to struggle with. Like people just might, maybe a lot of people are on the same wavelength when it comes to that. And so when you're talking to people around you, they're just kind of reinforcing that same troubling approach that clearly isn't working for you. And so it's just being willing to release yourself from attachment to their thoughts and beliefs, because quite often people are also informed by their own fear, right? And especially when it comes, I know like collectively, we have a lot of blocks when it comes to money and stability and how things can be done. So if other people aren't necessarily getting it, or if other people are kind of reinforcing this like fear and this heavy feeling that you're struggling with, just know that that's probably reflective of like their own fear and their own limitations, and they're probably not going to be open to making adjustments or seeing different ways forward. So even if you start along this path and you're connecting with information that's making you feel a little bit better and giving you a different way to approach the same old subject, people won't necessarily understand or align with that. And it's not because it's wrong. It's just because the work that you're doing is challenging them, because they likely are stuck in similar ways and maybe they have similar work to do for themselves. So as you move along your path, don't be discouraged if the people around you don't understand or don't support it, because that's their work and you're doing yours, right? And so with the Page of Wands here, especially, this is saying like you're very much being encouraged to connect with that light inside of you, right? So if you can give yourself the opportunity to recognize what's calling to you, like what that little spark is, you can take that spark and turn it into a flame, right? And you can use that to kind of light your way. And you can see here, like she's carefree. Like the Page of Wands is, moving toward her dreams. And the thing is, like, it's not enough to dream. Sometimes it's difficult, especially if we're very stuck in a practical mindset and tied to, material and the external world. Sometimes it can be difficult to let ourselves dream. But when we do start to dream and we do start to become aware of what our soul is calling us to do and what's most important to us, the difficult part is that we need to start taking action. And in order to start taking action, our beliefs have to allow us to take action that will translate those dreams into reality. So the Page of Wands understands that she has the ability to create and to manifest, and she's kind of like in her infancy. She's kind of at the beginning of seeing what it is that she can accomplish. So it's a very like open-minded, it's a very inspired energy, and it's kind of like, don't be afraid to live your best life, right? Because if you're doing everything by the book and you're following the rules and you're getting results, but you're still not feeling it on the inside, then like, what's the harm in doing something differently? What's the harm in living a little bit more from your heart, right? And I'm not saying that you have to throw your desire for stability out the window, or that you have to do anything like really, drastic or rash. Obviously, it's, you will know what's best for you. But, there's a lot of opportunity here for you to kind of identify what's limiting you, especially the things that are, if it's making you feel heavy, like really, this is the only way that I can do this. Chances are it's not. And chances are that the things that you are interested in, that you feel called to, even if they don't make a lot of sense to you, even if they're a little bit different, those likely hold the key. So the things that you're drawn to, and the things that you're avoidant of, and the things that feel dark and heavy that you might just want to avoid or gloss over, those are the keys to understanding yourself better and to kind of being able to heal and release whatever it is, because sometimes these limiting beliefs are generational, right? Like sometimes they're handed down to us and they're just constantly reinforced by, family or friends or bosses. Like the people who come into our lives are just reflecting all of that back to us. And it's just to get us moving, to get us to recognize like, hey, no, this doesn't work for me and this isn't what I want. And that's what this reading is all about. Like, I don't know if you consciously know what you want or if you're even aware that there is a nagging that, that you're not feeling fulfilled with what you have so far. But I would take time to investigate that and to maybe even just set out like, what are your goals? What are your values? What's most important to you in life? And how do you feel your rating on those levels, right? In terms of your happiness and satisfaction. And maybe that will kind of give you an idea of how to bring that more into balance. And yeah, I really love that the Hierophant's here because, and that this is often about structure, right? So it can be like living within the structure of, religion or, just it's kind of like it can be a rigid set of beliefs, but it's also about like wisdom and knowledge. And this one here, especially, it's less intense, and it's more it's got like a more free kind of vibe than a lot of the traditional depictions of the Hierophant, which I really, really like, which is basically like there's a stairway up to like the light here, right? So there's an opportunity for ascension. And if you are stuck in a structure that isn't working for you or that's keeping you limited from connecting with things that are going to elevate your experience, then, things are inevitably going to stay the same. And so there's a choice that we have that if things are not working, eventually you have to do something different. And in order to do something different, you have to be open-minded and you have to be willing to connect. And there is a world of resources out there. So it could be something spiritual in nature that maybe you're feeling drawn to, or, it could be anything, right? And you'll know when you come across it because it'll resonate with you. But the important thing is, don't feel like you have to stick with what you're doing or stick with what you've been told. If you feel like it's not aligned and it's not working, like start researching, start educating yourself, start being open to different modes of viewing yourself, of viewing life, allow your beliefs to be transformed in ways that, feel more freeing and uplifting, because that's what's really going to help you step out of your comfort zone and connect. And it can be very hard to step out of a comfort zone, especially if that is a very physical, material comfort zone where you are feeling safe, but you might be trading your internal happiness and satisfaction for that stability. And so yeah, and the other thing is, so this is personal development, obviously. It could be spiritual development if you're into that. But then there's also like a very creative element to this as well. And so perhaps in the midst of being, so practical and so, focused on laying your foundation and having this life that's kind of nicely curated, that you're ignoring the creative side of life. And so perhaps it could be even as simple as connecting more with your creativity. If you are artistic in any way, like like music or visual arts or anything spiritual in nature, a spiritual practice, like it seems like there's just kind of like a lack of balance maybe. And whatever it is that you're dealing with, it's obviously going to show up different for each and every one of you, but to not be afraid of the darkness and working through those emotions, finding your inner light, finding your inner truth, and starting to say yes to yourself, right? So saying yes, that's like a very simple, like it's oversimplified in my perspective, because you kind of have to know what's there in order to say yes to it. But I would say the first step with this would be just start being more conscious of when you're saying no to yourself and what you're saying no to. And if that's really what feels right, if that's really what you want, or if you're saying no because of, you know, your beliefs, or because of, you know, the plans that you have in place, or, you know, the things that you've been told to believe or to value, right? And so if the things that you want you're saying no to, and you're putting off for a reason, or for a reason that, you know, ultimately doesn't serve you or you don't align with, then that's a pretty good idea. That gives you a pretty good idea of what you can maybe start moving toward and what to move away from. Right. And then, as I said before, obviously, like this is a long-term kind of energy. There's healing that needs to be done in any given situation, but this is really good energy to keep in mind, because it's really saying like there's a lot of opportunity for, you know, creativity and for fulfillment, and to do things differently, and to like step out of the box. And you don't necessarily have to sacrifice your material desires and your material stability in order to do that, right? So maybe it's just finding a marriage between the two, and not focusing so much on the external that you have to consistently sacrifice your inner world, because whatever you have on the outside will never be enough if you're not allowing yourself to say yes to yourself and connect with what's really meaningful and important to you. So I'm just going to get you an affirmation or two to tie things up, but I think that is everything for this reading. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's so perfect for this. I let go of all that no longer serves me. And we will get you one more. And I share my light with the world. Here, I'll give you a close-up of this one too. So that's perfect. Really, I don't think we could have come across two better affirmations. And so I think deep down, even if you're not conscious of it right now, you know what's not serving you, you know what feels limiting, and you know what's holding you back. And I think you're feeling called to do things differently. And I think that you are kind of slowly being nudged in the direction of things that feel maybe more fulfilling or aligned. And yeah, so don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to connect with that. Don't be afraid to say yes to yourself. Don't be afraid to connect with your authenticity and show other people, right? So even if it's different, even if it's out of the norm, like, you know, if it's positive, there's no losing in sharing that with other people and allowing that to impact your life. And yeah, don't be afraid to let go. It can be scary to step out of the comfort zone, but in stepping out into the unknown, it also allows you to connect with such a huge amount of opportunity. You never know what you're going to find. You never know how that is going to, you know, open more doors, and how it's going to change your perspective, and, you know, maybe allow you to connect with possibilities that you never could have even dreamed, you know, would be open to you. So I think that's a really beautiful kind of energy to leave things on. So pile one, I'm going to leave your reading there. If you enjoyed this reading, feel free to like and share the video. If you feel so inclined as to leave a comment, I would love to know how this resonates or how this makes sense for you. And if you're interested in more readings like this, you can head on over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot. Check out my other videos there. And if you subscribe to my channel, then you'll get notifications when new videos are posted, and it'll keep you up to date and in the loop. But thank you so much for joining me today and spending this time. I really appreciate it, and it's an honor to read for you. I look forward to reading for you again in the future, and I'm sending you all my best. Hi there, pile two. If you chose the Amethyst, then this is going to be your reading. These will be your messages relating to what you're being guided to release or let go of, and what you're intended to be moving toward. And so, as I said in the intro, obviously this is a general reading, and because it's focused around personal development and healing, like there's healing required for release, these are probably going to be bigger energies. It's not necessarily going to be a really straightforward answer in terms of what you're being guided to release, but it will show up for each and every one of you differently, and whatever resonates most with you is going to be most relevant and probably the best for you to take and to move forward with, but also to keep in mind the additional information that's coming through, because that may apply as you progress along your healing journey, because it is a journey and it does take time. And again, this is a timeless reading, so whenever this video happens to find you, this is meant to be relevant based on whatever you're currently going through. And so we've got the Wild Unknown Tarot for you. We've got 3 cards, bottom of the deck, and then we've got 2 oracles, and the light, Work Your Light Oracle, which is the one you made your selection based off of. So your first oracle card, I don't know if you can see, says the Initiation. It's really hard to see, but it says Rite of Passage, Crossing the Threshold. Right. Your second oracle card is Restore and Replenish. Your first tarot is the 7 of Wands. Then we have, the Strength card. And then we have, oh my gosh, the Sun. Wow, this is some big energy. I am liking this already. Okay, and then bottom of the deck, Son of Swords, which is the Knight of Swords in this deck. All right. Wow, this is really cool. I just have to say, like, starting off, this is all like fire energy. And so if you're into astrology, this is like absolutely saying like big Leo energy. So you may be a Leo or have Leo in your chart if you're into astrology. Or, you know, it might just be that is what your current kind of challenge and focus is. But this is like really, really cool. Like this is, I'm getting the impression that you are kind of on the verge of this like major transformation. And as a result, you might be feeling worn down, and you might also be feeling really lonely. Lonely or misunderstood, or even like you're lacking support. And that quite often happens when we are on the verge of those big shifts. And so it really it can show up differently for each and every one of you. But, you know, there's very much a sense of being in a transitional space, maybe even like a liminal space. So a space where like nothing is quite right, nothing's quite clear. You don't necessarily know exactly where you're going, but you kind of know the direction that you have to head in. But it's also like you're still kind of tied to the past and everything that's brought you to this point. And so it can be really difficult in that space to take action and to know exactly what action to take, because our emotions can really be tested and tried during a time like this. And especially if you're somebody who like really needs support or validation from others, it can be super difficult to feel like not only are you going through it, you're going through like maybe a challenging time where things seem unclear, but there's nobody that really quite understands you and what you're going through and that can give you the support that you're looking for, or maybe give you the validation that what you're doing is truly what's right for you. And that is tough. So that, like, I get that. I feel that really intensely. So first off, I want to say that like if you are in that space, it can be really tough not to have the support or understanding from people, but it is also such an important part of your development, spiritual, emotional, personal, however that applies to you. It's such an important part because you're really being guided to level up and to recognize that, especially if you feel like you're in need of support and guidance from others, you're probably undercutting your own knowledge and your own connection with yourself and your own ability to trust that what you know and what you're moving toward is right. Doesn't make it any easier, but hopefully there's at least a little bit of solace in the fact that like if you're feeling that way, that it's part of the bigger picture. Like this is only meant to help strengthen you and move you along your path, and letting go of that need for support is probably going to be a big part of that, because you are being guided to support yourself. Like, be your own best friend, be your own advocate at this time. So with the initiation, this kind of speaks to what I was talking about, how I get the sense that like you might be in a middle space right now where, you know, the things that you've been doing in the past and everything that you've gone through up until now has brought you to this place where maybe it served you, but it's not serving you anymore. Maybe you already know that, or maybe you're coming to that realization. And you're kind of recognizing that you need a change, like you need to step into something new. And I feel like maybe you're hesitating. Maybe you're hesitating because you're not totally sure, or you're not totally convinced that whatever it is that you're stepping into is what's going to be right. Or maybe you don't know exactly what that's going to look like. And that, yeah, that can be scary. So when you're on the threshold, right? And to think about it, like if you're at the point where you're at the threshold and you're about to step into something new, even if it's something positive, even if it's aligned, even if it's, you know, following your dreams, following your heart, and it's giving you the opportunity to connect with everything that you want, it's still difficult, right? It can still be really hard to make those decisions and to take that step, because you have to commit, right? In order to fully be in that energy and benefit from that energy and move in that direction, you can't have a foot in the past, you know? Like you have to recognize and honor your past for what it's done for you and where it's brought you, but you have to be willing to let go of it, right? And so when we're in this transitional space, it can be really tough because sometimes we're tempted to straddle the threshold, right? Like, and sometimes we end up feeling stuck because we're straddling the threshold. So we've got one foot in the past because we don't quite want to let go, and then one foot in the future on this new path. But what ends up happening is, yeah, ultimately we end up stuck because you might see these opportunities that are aligning with the direction that you're trying to move forward in, but maybe they're not working out for you, right? Like maybe the steps that you're trying to take to move forward into this new energy aren't actually working for you. Maybe it's not panning out. And what I would say is chances are there's something that you're still connected to from your past or holding on to that is keeping you, it's pulling you back a little bit, right? It's keeping you from fully moving into this energy and being able to realize these dreams, whatever it is that you're moving toward. And so this whole reading is definitely a confirmation that you're going through this for a reason, and that this is meant to be, even if it's a really challenging and lonely time, it's meant to be leveling you up. It's meant to be taking you where you're meant to go. And it has like a huge amount to do with your purpose in this life. And so, yeah, it looks like being willing to kind of let go of the past. And when I say the past, it just means like the things that have brought you to this space. So that can manifest differently for each and every one of us. It could be just simply a fear, right? So maybe you've come to this point where you realize like that you were making decisions based on fear, and that most of your life was limited by fear. And now you're seeing that, hey, you know, I can connect with things that feel good. I can overcome my fear and step into new energy. I can try new things. And even if they don't work out the way I anticipate, I learn, I grow. And so maybe you've kind of been moving into more of this learner's or beginner's mindset where you're willing to start doing things differently and taking whatever comes and trying to make the best of it, right? But you might still have fears from your old way of approaching things that are just kind of lurking there, and that might even be subconsciously, that are kind of holding you back and keeping you from really integrating this new energy and really making the most out of the new opportunities and things that you're trying to bring in. And so anywhere that you're feeling stuck right now, anywhere that you think that, like, you know, maybe it's clear that you need to move forward or what you need to do to move forward, and you're just having a tough time committing and making that step or fully jumping in. Anywhere that kind of energy is showing up in your life, you might want to take some time to just reflect and see, you know, what it is that's holding you back. You know, like if you're hesitating, why is it that you're hesitating? You know, is it timing? Is it fear? Is it like a worry that things are not going to work out? Because, you know, sometimes it can be a fear that things are going to get worse or they're not going to work out for us that keeps us stuck. But sometimes it can also be a fear that they're going to work out and that things are going to be great. And, it's almost like self-sabotage because we're afraid of our own success, right? Because it's different, it's uncomfortable. And especially if we've lived in a place of fear and lack and we're trying to connect with opportunity and abundance, that can be uncomfortable because we don't even necessarily know what that looks like. And we're really having to challenge ourselves to kind of like let go of all of that old stuff, step into the new, and trust that it will work out the way it's meant to, and trust that we'll be able to make it through and that we will be, enriched by that. And so the other kind of vibe that I'm getting is that, maybe in getting to this point, maybe it was like very quick moving. Like maybe it was just like a sudden series of events that kind of triggered you or brought you some kind of clarification. Maybe you had some major kind of realization really quickly that, things needed to change or you needed to move in a different direction. And that might be difficult to reconcile because if it happens quickly, you don't have a lot of time and it might feel drastic, right? Or it could be that you have been really trying to move in this direction and you've been really moving forward. And now that you're here, ready to kind of step across the threshold, you're realizing what you have to give up in order to do so. So that can also just kind of bring your progress to a halt. So that, I'm feeling like an energy of maybe being a little bit stuck, but you're not stuck. This is just a tough energy that you're faced with, and there's just some inner work and like rest and healing. And so with restore and replenish, if you're focusing on what you need to be doing, what you need to accomplish, and what you need to like check off the list, especially if that pertains to whatever you're moving toward, that's not necessarily serving you, right? So it's recognizing that it's not just a matter of taking steps to move forward and getting stuff done, but you also have to kind of tend to your inner landscape, especially if you're feeling lonely, especially if you're feeling scared, especially if you've got like some internal struggle going on and like emotions to kind of rectify. You're selling yourself short by focusing on just like the practical steps that you need to take there. And maybe you're even oversimplifying it, saying like, well, all I need to do is this, like all I need to do is take this one step or, make this investment or do whatever. Why can't I do it? It should be simple. And it's like, it's not necessarily simple. And if it doesn't feel simple, it's because there's something there internally that is asking to be recognized and worked through. And so, if you're being hard on yourself because you think that you should be taking action or you think that you should be, moving ahead more quickly or things shouldn't be difficult, that's really, really, really just a sign that you need a little bit of your own love and time and compassion. And, try not to be too hard on yourself because it seems like you are in a very like transitional space, and that can be exhausting, especially if you're having a hard time fully moving into this like next step or this next energy, right? Because with the 7 of Wands here, that tells me that you basically are having to light your own path. So it feels like you kind of already have clarity on what's right for you, or even just that, even if your amount of clarity is just that like what was working or what you were doing isn't right for you and you kind of have to step out into the unknown, like that's the key. Like this is you, this is your. Okay, sorry, pile 2. I ran into some technical difficulties and realized that my device had stopped recording. And luckily, I only managed to blab on for another like 2 minutes before I realized. So let me just get right back into this. So what I was saying is this is you right here. Like this is your passion. This is you living like a heart-centered life and doing what feels right to you. And yeah, like there's darkness all around you and everything else has fallen to the side. So you're at a point where you're really truly being guided to kind of step into your own light and to lead your own way, right? And that can be scary because stepping out into the unknown, especially if you're somebody who has, maybe come from a more structured background and you're used to following steps, it can be difficult to follow your heart and to really trust yourself to know what the right step is. And it can also be difficult to let go of the need for validation or support from others. And really, like, the amazing thing is that, like, it's almost like this light that you have here can, like, turn into the sun, right? So it can almost, if you take these steps into the darkness and you follow this path that you're on, it has the opportunity to kind of almost be self-sustaining, like an illuminating positive presence in your life once you've done the groundwork. And obviously there will be some maintenance there as well, but it's a really positive overall energy. And so it's basically like, if you are feeling a little bit lonely and maybe there's some fear of stepping into the unknown, that's totally normal, but this is really like, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth the struggle. It's going to be worth whatever you're going through right now, because really the energy, the opportunity for things to be so beautifully aligned is unreal. Like these two cards together, unreal. I love it. But the thing that I was saying before I kind of got cut off is that, a lot of times if we're somebody who needs validation or confirmation from others, it can be really discouraging and it can hold us back if we're not getting that, or if the people around us are not supportive and they're kind of keeping us from maybe stepping fully across that threshold. So it could also be people, or like a need for recognition or validation from others that is kind of keeping you from stepping into this new energy and this new life that you're trying to create for yourself, however that manifests for you. But there is also beauty in this kind of energy, because if you think about it, if you need the validation from other people and the people around you are not understanding or supportive in what you're trying to create, although that's a really difficult thing to face, it's also telling you that, like, you have the opportunity to create something unique that's just for you. And if the people around you can't understand or support that, then it's a good sign that, like, you're kind of on the right path, being on your own path. And, you don't necessarily want those people trying to support you or interfering if they're not on your path or if they can't understand. And chances are that their involvement is only going to muddle your own awareness of what you need to do. And let's be honest, it's already a daunting enough task to undertake to really be connected to yourself and be figuring that out as you go. And the other thing is, even if you were to have somebody say, like, to guide you or support you, everybody is different. Everybody has their own goals and their own perspective, and it's beautiful, and they can enlighten us and enrich us in certain ways, but ultimately we're the only ones that know what's right. So even if you did feel as though you were receiving support and understanding, it's also going to be limited to that specific person or the group of people's view of the situation, and they may, subconsciously be leading you in a direction that isn't right for you, right? And so when it's something that's meant to be meaningful and beautiful for you, the unfortunate part is that you do often have to stand alone. And that is, it's almost like a protective thing to ensure that you can connect with and be aware of this light, and you can let it light your path. And you're kind of being gifted of not having the distraction of other people, or not leaning on other people, not being able to kind of defer to anybody else. This is really an opportunity for you to dig deep and connect with that inner strength and knowing, and trust that when you are in that space and you're willing to connect with that and make those decisions for yourself, that you have the ability to handle anything and everything that comes your way. So it's like, when you are in your strength, the sun is shining on you, right? And that's good fortune, and things are working out. And when I say things are working out, it doesn't mean that everything is going to be perfect and easy. It doesn't mean that there aren't going to be struggles or hardships or even failures, but it's that you're on the right path. You know, you are being given the opportunity to learn and to grow and to have the experiences that are going to benefit you, right? So whether it's apparent right now how that is going to impact your final outcome, it is all working for you. And so with the sun shining on you, and then the sun, this is like the energy that you're being asked to kind of move into. And it is like the most positive energy pretty much in the whole tarot deck. You know, it is like, you know, yeah, sunshine, happiness, fulfillment. It also has like a really light, happy, playful, youthful energy to it. So it also could be, you know, allowing yourself to connect more with play and fun and like your inner child as well. But basically, like when you're on this path, when you're digging deep and you're trying to cultivate the strength to bring awareness to the things that are holding you back and the fears that you need to kind of overcome in order to kind of continue lighting the path for yourself step by step. Really, your guiding light, and to help you connect with your own guiding light, just start paying attention to what feels good, what feels positive, what feels light, like the people, places, things, concepts, practices that feel like sunshine on your face, right? And you know, it just makes me, I all of a sudden just thought of sunflowers. The reason that I love sunflowers so much is like, obviously they're beautiful and they're wonderful and all of that, but like flowers follow the sun, right? Throughout the day. But sunflowers at night, when the sun goes down, they actually turn to the east in anticipation of the sun rising the next morning, right? And so it's kind of like even when you're in the darkness and even when you're in the middle of the unknown or struggle or heavy kind of periods, it's like always being willing to face the light, right? And always being willing to remember that even if you're in the middle of darkness and even if you don't see the light right now, that it will return and it's coming back. It's still there even if it's obscured by darkness, right? And so yeah, like I could not think of a more encouraging kind of energy. Like this is really big. It's really positive. So just know, like whatever this kind of struggle is, whatever it is that you're feeling maybe a little bit hesitant to move toward, like it really does seem like it's the right thing for you. And however that manifests in your life, it seems like there's a really, really wonderful opportunity, not only for you to connect with your own passion and creativity, your intuition, your own inner light, but it's like to actually start shining that for other people. And so with the initiation here as well, it's like I kind of get the impression that moving out of the old and into the new and the healing that needs to take place, that might also be important for the people around you, right? Or that might be something that you incorporate into your life, like moving forward, because it could very well be that by you shining your light and following your own path and just stepping into your authenticity, doing your healing, connecting with your strength, that it's going to let you kind of be a beacon of light for other people, right? And if you start incorporating that happiness and connecting with those opportunities for happiness in your own life, it's only going to amplify your own. And the more you emit, the more that you draw in the people that are looking for that same kind of energy, right? And so this also could have a bigger purpose. So it's not necessarily just about you and your personal development and happiness, but it could also be your opportunity to help others who are in a similar position, right? Because not everybody understands the struggle of being in this place where you're kind of misunderstood or feeling unsupported and having to go it alone. And it is a really transformational journey, and it really does allow you to kind of connect with strength that maybe you didn't know you have, and to really appreciate the opportunity and even just like happiness and optimism, seeing the sunny side, knowing that the sun will rise again, and being able to share that with other people who are in similar circumstances, right? Yeah, because this also encourages you to like take on a new endeavor. Like if there's something that you're new that you're looking to move toward, and to be conscious of yourself and your energy, and not kind of wearing yourself too thin, not focusing too much, like I said earlier, about being productive. And it might even just be that you need like a little bit of rest and time to connect with yourself. It doesn't have to be like a really long term, like a major commitment of time or energy. But it really does kind of bode well for, a rebirth almost, right? And like with the initiation and being at the thresholds, that's like very much one thing ends and a new thing begins, and fully stepping into new energy. Maybe before you cross that threshold, maybe before you fully step into that new energy, it's taking this time to replenish yourself, right? To kind of give back into yourself, especially if you're not necessarily surrounded by people who are going to support you in doing that or help you do it. You are your own best advocate. Like, really, I see you've got it all. Like, you've got it all within. And as difficult as it might be, and as isolated as you might feel or misunderstood, just know that you're always supported. You're always supported, because there's definitely a big picture kind of energy. There's definitely a spiritual energy. Like, this is where you're meant to be. This is part of your path, whatever it is that you're moving toward. It's going to have a bigger impact than you probably anticipate. And you might even be able to connect with an opportunity, even in terms of like hobbies or work or friendships. You might start connecting with people that like open up a world of opportunity for you based on you making this transition, right? Because especially if you're feeling alone, the best thing to do, like when you're on this path and that you're forging for yourself and being your authentic self, is, the more that you do that and the more that you put that out there without shame, the more people recognize that and are drawn to it, right? So like, you have the opportunity to light your own path, but in doing so, you're also going to start calling in your own like tribe of people that get it. And so it's keeping in mind that, yes, this is temporary. This is transitional. This is not going to last forever. This is really giving you the opportunity to step into something new. Because look, like, this is like a really kind of dark landscape. And then through this kind of, it almost looks like a portal, right? It's like almost like you're stepping into something completely new, and it looks beautiful, right? So just kind of try and keep that in the back of your mind, especially if you're feeling a little bit low, and especially if you're feeling kind of downtrodden, because this really has the opportunity to kind of change everything for you, everything for the better. Like, I don't see the sun come out a lot in a lot of readings, and it's like, gosh, that's like all of your dreams, all of your happiness. And like, it's like more than you can even handle. It's like, it's just radiating out of you and touching everyone around you. And so like, that's big work. That's big energy. And so it kind of makes sense, like, especially if you're coming out of a place of like stress and fear and limitation and like depression and, like maybe a really bad spot. Is like, you don't have to be tied to that. Even if people know you as that person, or even if people have seen you struggle, like, you don't have to be stuck in that energy, and you don't have to hesitate to connect with the sun, connect with the light, because like, really, that's the purpose of all of this. Right? And it's all about you taking the time to recuperate and like letting go. Just don't be afraid to let go of the past. And I know that sounds like it sounds easier than it is, but in recognizing your fear and stepping out into the unknown anyways, with that like that light and that love in your heart, that is never going to steer you wrong. Other people might steer you wrong, so it's good to just kind of, stay focused, be open to your experiences, be open to the things that you can learn from the people around you, and just know that any lack of support is not reflective of you being on the right path or not. It's simply just illuminating maybe the limitations that other people have, and it's kind of being projected onto you. So don't give up. Don't worry. This is not going to last forever. You are at the threshold, and The only thing that is going to prolong this energy or this struggle is, you know, maybe refusing to or being hesitant to acknowledge whatever it is that's holding you back. And that can be really heavy. That can have a lot of emotional implications as well. So I don't want to say that that's something that you need to be rushed in working through or making any kind of decision on. But the power is in your hands to a certain extent, that if you are really starting to feel worn out, take time to rest and replenish, but also know that chances are it's just something within you that's holding you back. And if you really allow yourself to kind of rest, dig deep, and trust that you have the power to overcome whatever hurdles that you think might stand in your way, or whatever fear is keeping you from really fully embracing this energy, you will move forward, right? And the outcome will ultimately be positive, even if there's like more struggle and work to be done, which, you know, no doubt there is. That's life for you, right? So don't get caught up in this current situation, because it is temporary in nature. This is, yeah, like it's a rite of passage. So, you know, this is a time of major change, and you know, you'll be able to navigate it. And if you're starting to feel worn down, yeah, just give yourself that opportunity to start letting go of whatever it is that's holding you back. So I'll stop rambling, and I will give you some affirmations to end this reading. All right. So we've got, today is a sacred gift from life. I'll hold that up for you. Then we'll get you one more. That one fell. My happiness can be measured by the level of my faith in love. Yeah. So faith and love, faith and happiness, it's kind of like knowing that the sun is still there even when it's dark, and knowing that you will connect with that light again. And the best thing that you can do if there's an absence of light around you, or an absence of support around you, is shine your own light. And just, yeah, have faith. Like if you're living and making decisions from a place of love, that will help you stay in a place of faith, which will help you navigate, you know, the darkness and kind of handle this time of transition in a way that's going to help you connect with whatever resources you need, but also the energy that you're trying to bring in, right? And so it's basically like faith and gratitude, right? There's only so much that you can do about your current situation, because it seems like you kind of need to make a decision to stay where you were, or to step into the unknown and to move forward. So to connect with this light and to connect with this path ahead of you, yeah, I think that's really beautiful. You just have faith and focus on what makes you happy. Focus on what you do have. Focus on what you're looking to create, and know that that will come. Know that you have the strength to get there, and that it's all going to be worth it. So yeah, I'm going to leave your reading there. And if you enjoyed this reading, please feel free to like or share the video. If you feel so inclined, you can leave me a comment. Let me know how this resonated, or what made sense for you. And if you enjoyed this reading, you can always head on over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot. Check out my other videos. And if you subscribe to my channel, you will also get notifications on any future videos that are posted, and that will keep you in the loop. But thank you so much for joining me and for spending the time today. It's been an honor to read for you, and I look forward to reading for you again in the future. And I'm sending you all my very best. Hi there, pile 3. If you chose this little selenite tower, then this is going to be your reading. These will be your messages. So again, as I said in the intro, this is going to be a timeless reading. So whenever this message happens to find you, it's meant to be relevant, regardless of when the video was posted. And yeah, we're just going to take a look at what you're being guided to release, to leave behind, to move away from, and what you're being guided to bring in in replacement of that. And again, this is probably not going to be a very, very specific message. It's going to resonate with each one of you differently. It's going to manifest in your circumstances differently. And it's probably going to be a larger overarching energy. So there likely will be some deep diving and healing involved. It's not likely to be something that will resolve immediately or really quickly, because healing, is a journey, it's a process. But my hopes are that this information will help you to start to become more aware of the things in your life that are not aligned or that are perhaps limiting you or holding you back, and how to kind of move away from that energy and into something that might be a little bit more aligned. So I'm excited to see what comes out for you. So we've got 3 tarot cards. This is the Crystal Visions Tarot. So 3 tarot cards and the back of the deck, and then 2 oracles, one of which is the Work Your Light Oracle, which is the card that you made your selection based on. So we will get into it. So your first oracle card is Pleiades. It's kind of hard to see, but it says double mission, channeling and uplifting humanity. Ooh, so we might get a little bit weird. You got to bear with me for this reading. And then your second card is Inner Trust. Okay, and then for tarot, we've got 2 of Wands, the Moon, and the Knight of Cups. Finally, Knight of Wands at the bottom. All right. Oh, this is actually really cool. Okay, so yeah, as I said, we're going to get a little bit weird. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the concept of star seeds. It is a little bit out there, definitely spiritual in nature. If you're not into that, or maybe you're a little bit skeptical, that's totally cool. Just try to keep an open mind. I'm going to do my best to interpret this in a way that's going to be easy to apply for everyone, regardless of your background or your beliefs. But this is a really interesting energy. Like, this is like, yeah, it's a little weird. It's a little out there. So, but I like it. So let's start off with the whole star seed idea. So I'm not going to get too in-depth into the whole idea of star seeds, but the idea is like the Pleiades. So Pleiadians are a group of star seeds. So from the Pleiades, which I believe it's part of the Taurus constellation, the Seven Sisters. But the idea is like there are different groups of star seeds, and each one has like a divine purpose on this earth. And so there are energies that incarnate in human form, just as we're all incarnated in human form, with different missions, different spiritual gifts. And the Pleiadians are generally, they're generally like healers. A lot of times they are healers, and they have a lot of wisdom. But the kind of core message with this Pleiades card coming out is that your purpose here is not only to be here on this earth, living this life and learning these lessons for your own personal growth and the growth and development of your own soul, but also to help uplift humanity as a whole, right? To help other people and to have that positive, like, healing, enlightening kind of impact on those around you. So this might be something that you've been feeling. This might be something that maybe you're naturally drawn to. A lot of times people who are associated with the Pleiadian energy or who identify with it, they can often like be spiritual healers. They might be coaches. They might be therapists. They could work in terms of like healing and counseling in a more practical way, like nursing. it could also be in a creative sense. So anything that's healing and uplifting in nature that comes in through in the form of creativity. So it might be music, dance, like art therapy, could be anything like that. But basically, whatever gifts you have, and whatever that translates into in terms of your own personal creative expression, that tells me it's something that's meant to be shared with those around you. It's meant to impact, it's meant to uplift, it's meant to help people heal, it's meant to kind of help them in their own transformational journey as well as your own. So it's kind of like a twofold mission here. And so whether or not you believe, so Pleiadians are not actually like physical star people. They're not aliens that you'll find there. The idea is that it's an energy. It's an energy, and people who are connected to that star seed or Pleiadian energy specifically are able to basically like channel all of that wisdom and knowledge and kind of anchor it down into earth for the benefit of humanity, essentially. So whether or not you believe in the concept, I would highly encourage you to maybe do a little bit of research and reading on Pleiadians specifically, what the characteristics are, professions that they're drawn to, even like personal characteristics. I know I identify with a lot of them. They tend to be introverts. They tend to be highly empathic or empathetic. Highly intuitive. They're good at kind of seeing through people and intentions. But yeah, they might be a little bit like withdrawn or feel like they don't belong, but still at the same time be able to kind of fit into a variety of settings. And yeah, just kind of like usually they're light workers of some kind. So kind of like an ultimate desire or ability to positively impact and influence those around you. So that's kind of cool. And with inner trust showing up here, it's telling me that like, even though you may or may not be aware of this gift or maybe this drive that's kind of intrinsically there, you might not trust yourself in terms of acknowledging that that's actually a thing, right? Like that is, because it is a little bit out there. And like I said, you don't have to believe in the star seeds, but you might identify with the qualities, and it could be not to open your eyes into the world of star seeds because it is a little bit out there, but it could just be to help activate you and connect you with those facets of your personality that are related to this energy, and to allow you to kind of recognize and embrace it more. All right, because what I'm kind of getting is that you might be really driven by what's going on outside of you, like other people, recognition, attention. There could be, I don't want to offend anyone, but I kind of feel like there's a lot of ego here that's been driving you to this point. Not necessarily that ego is a bad thing, but when we are driven primarily by our ego, it can be really detrimental to our own personal growth. It can really get us off track. And so ego can be beneficial in some ways, but when we're driven by it and we're feeding it, or we're in a position where we need to feed and maintain it, then sometimes it prevents us from connecting to, our real calling in life, our real purpose, and kind of accessing the depth of knowledge and experience and connection that is really truly available to us. So the vibe that I'm getting is that you kind of have a choice right now. If you're going to keep on searching almost for like self gratification, it's almost like a self-involved energy, not necessarily in a bad way, because obviously, you need to look out for number one. You need to prioritize yourself. You need to look out for yourself. You need to do what's best for you, right? And maybe you've been in that energy, like maybe that's where you've been, and you've been working on yourself and building yourself up, especially if it comes to a specific creative skill or passion or ability that you have. But maybe the way that you've been approaching it and the way that you've been sharing it has more to do with you. It almost feels like there's something that you feel like you need to prove in terms of your ability or how successful you can be. It has like, with the Knight of Wands here, it has like a little bit of a showy kind of energy. Like, hey, look at me, look at what I'm doing, look what I can do. And, like for sure, celebrate yourself. We all need a certain amount of attention and validation. It feels nice to receive that. But what I would just say is that we don't want that to get to a point where it's out of control, where it's driving you and it's influencing the decisions that you're making, because it's really tough to do things from a heart-centered place and a place of unconditional love and acceptance for yourself and for others, which really is kind of the general vibe of this energy, when we're in a place where we're maybe taking steps that aren't super authentic or aren't, we're not connecting with our highest self because we're looking to receive a certain type of feedback or attention, or maybe we're trying to curate a specific image to inspire people to appreciate whatever it is we're doing. And what I'm picking up from this is that whatever you're doing, whatever your skill is, whatever you're putting out into the world, you don't have to worry about enticing people to appreciate it or to support you or to think that you're good at what you're doing, because there's a certain amount of trusting that, if you can do your own thing, and if you can feel confident and passionate and proud of yourself and what you're doing in such a way that you don't have to reach out for validation as much, because you have that intrinsic internal motivation and validation that you're able to give yourself, it's only going to unlock, an even deeper level of satisfaction and ability. And, more people are going to be drawn to you when you're coming from that place of inner confidence that you don't need to display it. You don't need to try and entice. You don't need to show off, because people will notice, right? And especially when you're quiet, right? When you're doing your thing for the right reasons, and you're feeling fulfilled and you're feeling aligned and you're confident in yourself, but not to a point where you have to shout it from the rooftops or kind of shove it in anyone's face. People align with that almost more so, right? Because it gives them the opportunity to sense the true kind of intention behind it, and that's what draws them in. And with the moon here, it's saying you have access to a really deep well of intuition. And I think that taking some time to sit with yourself and connect with yourself and kind of determine what it is that's going on in the subconscious that's driving you to make the decisions. If there are places that you're showing up that maybe you're not being your most authentic self, the thing that comes to mind is fake it till you make it, right? And it's kind of if you want to be successful, act like you're successful, speak like you're successful, think like you're successful. And that can be helpful to a certain degree, but it also kind of undercuts our ability to actually do things, because if we're approaching things from a fake it till you make it mentality, then, the things that we're doing aren't necessarily going to be in alignment with us, right? But then also, if we are taking action and we are doing it, it doesn't matter if you feel completely confident in what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're the best, because what matters is taking those steps, right? And I think, if fake it till you make it gets you to the point where you're willing to take a step outside the box or take a risk or put yourself out there, then I think that's a beautiful thing to do, right? And if it motivates you, great. But don't undercut yourself by saying, well, I'm just doing this because I'm trying to fake it. Because regardless of how you feel, if you're doing it, you're doing it, which means you're effective, right? So it's almost recognize your ability, recognize your confidence, recognize your passion. Don't be afraid to step out there and share it. But recognize that, you don't need that extra external validation, because I think you already know that you're good at what you're doing, and I think that, maybe unlocking a deeper level of satisfaction and confidence in yourself is going to be bringing in more of that, depth and emotional, and intuitive intelligence into it, and really offering it up as something that can be of benefit to others in, either inspiring them and helping them heal and helping them connect with themselves, and you connecting with them. Because, you're kind of being asked to trade this Knight of Wands for this Knight of Cups, right? And so the Knight of Wands is, yeah, he's like flashy, he's fast moving, he's charismatic, he likes interacting with people, but like he likes attention, and he can be a little bit fickle in relationships, right? It can be a very self-focused energy, which is beneficial in some circumstances, but it can also be disruptive if it kind of gets out of balance. And so the Knight of Cups, on the other hand, is kind of this like slow, steady moving, meaningful, loving energy that is focused on, health and harmony and connection and depth in relationships. But in order to kind of connect with that energy and to be willing to connect with yourself and others on that level, you have to dig into like what is underneath the surface, right? Because the moon is not only about our subconscious and bringing things to light and our intuition, but it can also be about our fears, and it could be, about the ways that we sabotage ourselves. And ego is something that can be really insidious because we might not be totally aware that it's guiding us, and we might think that like it's just part of the game and being like confident and on your path and doing your thing and moving forward. But there might be fear that's driving that. And so if there's fear or there's insecurity, which everybody has that, it's not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but if what you're trying to do is create something meaningful, and you have the ability to create something meaningful that's going to be healing and impactful for yourself and others, if your ego is kind of getting in the way because it's feeding off of your fears and it's needing that validation and it's needing control and things to go a certain way, then that can interfere with your ability to connect with, the deeper side of things, and to draw in people who are looking to have those deeper experiences as well, right? Because the Knight of Cups it's really about sharing, right? Sharing love, sharing connections. And there's nothing hidden here, right? There's no manipulation, there's no desire to influence people in a way, whereas the Knight of Wands can be really influential, they can be really convincing, and they can kind of use that ability to it's not necessarily that it would come from a malicious place, it can, but sometimes they can manipulate people into doing what they want for their own benefit. And sometimes in doing so, the people that they're influencing are making decisions that aren't best for them. And so it's basically saying, like, if you want to be successful and you want to feel good about yourself, that's absolutely, there's nothing blocking you from doing that. And there's a way to do that from a more holistic approach, like you can integrate yourself and your needs and your feeling and your like spiritual gift and connection to yourself. You can integrate that into your experience, and you can have that confidence and passion be involved and serve others at the same time, So the thing that actually just came to mind is like lack mentality or scarcity mentality, where it's like there's not enough for everyone, there's not enough to go around. So it's like if someone else has something, then that's taking away from you. And like quite often that's where our need to prove ourselves comes from, and our need to be successful comes from, because it's like, well, it's either take or be taken from. And this is basically saying that that's not the way things are. It might feel like it sometimes, and sometimes society has a way of perpetuating the concept that that's how things work. But in reality, no. In reality, everybody's got their own purpose. Everyone's got their own path. There's enough for everyone. And really, we experience a whole lot more on every level when we are connected to that abundance and we're sharing. And we're sharing from a place of stability, and we can still benefit and have our highest good in mind and share in such a way that we are going to be helping others connect with their highest good as well. So, people don't have to sacrifice what's best for them to support you, and vice versa. So there can be a really harmonious kind of relationship, but it just requires you to have that trust and be willing to connect with yourself. What's going on under the surface? What's motivating you? right? And so like, what are your goals? What are your values? What's most important to you to experience on a daily life? And especially if this is something to do with like a creative hobby, an endeavor, could be work, and working with people. Because it kind of seems like it kind of seems like it's been a lot of fun, like it's been a wild ride, and you've been feeling good about yourself, and that's been the focus. And maybe if you feel like it's becoming a little bit stagnant, or you're not feeling as confident, or you're not feeling as sure, and you're needing more validation from outside, maybe that's a good indicator that you are longing for a little bit more depth and a little bit more meaning and connection. And so to turn within and trust that you're on this path for a reason, you're here for a reason, and it really seems like your purpose is very, very much to be helping others, and there's so many different ways that you could be helping. You could just be lending emotional support. You could be lending an ear. You could be teaching a skill that allows people to connect with their own creativity. You could be helping them work through, emotional struggles, financial struggles in like the material world. You could be helping them on a spiritual level to understand, their own, subconscious, and to connect with their own intuition, and follow their own path and share their own kind of love with and light with the world. There's so many different ways that can manifest. And if you feel like there might be a bigger purpose to what you're doing, or there might be like a bigger picture application that you might have the ability to really influence people in a positive way, or just influence people in general, I think you're right. Like, I think you do have the ability to influence. And along with that, it's important to recognize the responsibility that you have. If you are an influential type of person, and if you have the ability to reach people, then it's even more important that you are doing your work on a personal level and a spiritual level. And that you are aligned for yourself, because having influence and being out of sorts yourself puts you in a position where, your message and the energy that you're putting out there might not be aligned, right? Or it might not be what's best for you and best for everyone else. So if you have the opportunity to create something really, really beautiful, it's like, why not really take the time to connect with yourself and see like maybe what fears are holding you back, and see what ways your true self or your authenticity might be limited in terms of the way that you can express that, or you feel comfortable expressing that. But yeah, like inner trust, it's all within you, right? And I feel like I say this in every reading, but because that's the energy that keeps coming through, it must be something that we really all are struggling with or need to learn right now. But, you have everything that you need within you. And quite often the things that scare us or make us feel the most uncomfortable are the things that are the most like integral to our growth. And so if you're feeling that need to like look outside of yourself, or that need to kind of like make people stand up and notice you, perhaps what you really need is just to take that time to notice yourself, right? Because having validation from other people, having other people trust you or believe you and whatever you're putting out there is one thing, right? And that can be good in its own right, but it's not necessarily enough. And it looks like it's not enough for you, right? So if it's not enough for you, then you are absolutely being empowered to recognize your strength, to recognize your ability, and to really, truly, and genuinely appreciate it for what it is, and whatever it is that you have to offer, and the way that you can help, uplift and empower the people around you, because that seems to be a very big part of your energy. And so it's just kind of balancing. You're already like on the path. You're already there. You're already kind of aware of it, I feel. Or maybe this is an energy that you're trying to get into. And it looks like there just needs to be a little bit of balance, right? Because, you know, everybody needs a starting point, right? We're all you kind of have to build from the ground up. You need to set a foundation, and it's perfectly fine if that foundation is you strengthening yourself, getting into your space, having that confidence and being like, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing. I have value. And so maybe that's gotten you to this place where people are paying attention, or you do have a bit of a platform, and that is fantastic because maybe that's what was necessary, right? And maybe now it's trying to kind of like soften those edges a little bit and incorporate a little bit more of that vulnerability and that depth and that willingness to connect on a real level, and kind of drop, I don't want to say the facade necessarily, because I feel like people interpret that negatively, but yeah, just kind of like drop the pressure to maintain a certain appearance or to kind of facilitate a certain kind of interaction, right? In terms of what you're looking to put out there and what you're looking to receive from other people. Because it seems like the next step along this path of growth is really just stepping further into authenticity, but doing that from a place of vulnerability, you know, maybe sharing your emotions, sharing your personal experiences, because if you're somebody who can heal and connect with people, and you're here to do that not only for yourself and your own soul, but to help others do the same thing. A lot of time that's through connection. It's through conversing, and it's being real and authentic, being vulnerable, trusting that you've had these experiences for a reason, trusting that there's value, and trusting that, you know, you're able to start expressing that and incorporating that into your life. And you're probably going to get a whole lot more response coming from that angle than you have been to date. Or maybe that's what's going to take you to the next level, because sharing even your fears, right? Sharing the things that you normally keep hidden, or, you know, the healing that you need to do, being willing to address that and share that with people, not from a place of seeking attention, obviously, but from a place of just genuinely acknowledging that it could be helpful to somebody else. That draws people in. It makes you more approachable, and it allows there to be the opportunity for people to resonate with you and what you're doing, what you stand for, your story, for people to see themselves in you, and you will see yourself in them inevitably. So it's not just one way, like you're here performing and giving and giving and giving. Like you have the opportunity to receive just as much as you're giving, right? And that's the beauty of this, is like, really, this is the ability to create something that's like really abundant, really harmonious, really connected, and like it feels really good to me. Like it feels really like your fulfillment and others' fulfillment kind of working it's almost like facilitating each other's growth and happiness. And so I think that you might be surprised that when you start sharing authentically and trusting that, you know, anybody who doesn't align with that isn't meant to share that path with you right now. And it's totally okay if they fall away. Even if something like, if social media and status and attention is like a big thing or a driving factor in whatever it is that you're doing, it's even recognizing that if you start being more authentic, and if you start sharing more of yourself because you feel like this is kind of like your path or your mission, or it means something to you, anybody who falls away is meant to fall away, right? So don't worry about it. Don't spend too much time, because you really don't want people who don't align with your core values and your message just for the sake of having like a number there, right? Because that energy impacts you. If you believe in an energy and you're spiritual in nature, then it's like you don't really want that. You know, you don't want that in your field anyway. So putting out what it is that you want to receive, and trusting that the right people are going to be drawn to it, the right people are going to interact with it. And not only that, but it sets the stage for a level of connection and vulnerability and sharing that can go both ways. And, you are likely to benefit when you start stepping out and being and kind of exposing a little bit more of this depth. Not only are you going to be well received, but you're going to connect with people that are going to be, experiencing similar things. So not only are you going to help them feel seen and understood because they have the opportunity to kind of relate to or be healed by whatever you're doing or whatever you're interacting with, even if it's like a creative process, but you are also going to feel seen because those people who resonate with you are going to share their experiences too. And it's being willing to receive as well as to give. So you're not just broadcasting, but you're having like a whole, like a holistic experience with others, right? And so, yeah, uplifting humanity. That's really cool. That's like the majority of what I'm getting for you guys. So don't be afraid to trust yourself. Don't be afraid to step into like getting a little bit weird, being your authentic self, letting go of the need for attention or validation, or even just the need to curate a specific image because you feel like that's what people want to see, or that's what's acceptable, or that's what people know you for. And allowing yourself to recognize the depths of your own soul and to share that openly with other people. So I'm just going to get you an affirmation or two to close things off. Right. So it says, I live in the paradise of my own creation. Right. And let's get you one more. Sorry about that. I had a little technical difficulty. My device stopped recording, but the affirmation that came out for you, second one, says, I am not the victim. I am the lighthouse. So I really like that because it kind of just ties everything together nicely. Like you came here to spread light and to create, right? And so if you have the ability to create something beautiful and to create your own paradise, it's not only you that can benefit, it's others as well. And so, lean into that creative spark that you have, whatever your gift is, into cultivating that and sharing that. Trust yourself in sharing who you are more openly and not internalizing too much fear about how you'll be received. And remember that, if you come across people who don't understand or who don't align with you, if you lose people that, don't necessarily support you, that's just inevitable. It says more about where they're at than it does you. I think it's really important, especially if this is related to like social media or something where you already have influence, and it can be difficult not to get into the world of, metrics and followers and likes and to be totally overrun by that. It's to remember that if you notice people shifting away, that's a gift, right? Because the people who don't align will fall away. And as much as it can be discouraging, it's also really important because if those people don't align with your message and your purpose, then, you don't necessarily need them in your space right now. And it's trusting that being yourself will bring in the right people and experiences, the people who are going to appreciate you for who you are, see you for who you are, and really connect with your mission, whatever that is. And just know that that's enough. And don't be afraid. So anytime that you're feeling maybe like a little bit left out or even ostracized or misunderstood, just remember that you came here. You came here to spread light. You came here to spread love. You came here to shine your light. And, sometimes when you're acting from a place of authenticity and you're sharing and you're being vulnerable and you are actually offering something of value and connecting with people, sometimes that triggers people, right? Like sometimes people will react more negatively to that than when you're out there saying like, hey, look at me, look how important I am, look what I'm doing. Because that person, it's easy for people to just be like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. She's just like tooting her own horn, or he's just like, looking for attention. It's easy for them to write you off because it doesn't feel like a threat. Whereas sometimes something that's a little bit deeper and a little bit more meaningful, it really can push people away on an energetic level because it illuminates the things that they're struggling with. It illuminates their own insecurities or their areas for work that maybe they're not ready to focus on. And so inevitably, when you're doing anything of a spiritual nature, and you're doing anything that's uplifting and healing, it absolutely can be of great benefit to a lot of people, but it also will repel a fair amount of people too. And that's okay. That's normal. So don't let that hold you back, right? And if you want to connect with the purpose that you came here to fulfill, then that's really important, is to not let anything that makes you feel like a victim really get to you, not to internalize that, and to remember, you came here to shine your light, you came here to create, and you're here to uplift others. So again, I'm that's it. It's pretty much everything I'm getting for your reading, but I would highly recommend, again, that you just do a quick Google search on like Pleiadians, Pleiadian energy, Pleiadian characteristics, see what that entails, see how those details resonate with you. It might kind of give you, it might enlighten you a little bit. It might kind of like give you an additional opportunity to connect with, maybe whatever's going on here is kind of in your subconscious and you're still trying to figure it out, but that could be encouraging and it could be helpful. And the other neat thing is that I had all of these piles selected, all of the cards were out, and I didn't know what cards were in the pile, and then I intuitively selected the stones to go with them, and I intuitively selected this Selenite, and Selenite is actually like the main stone or main crystal associated with Pleiadians, so I don't think that is a coincidence. Even if you do find it a little bit weird, keep an open mind. I would do some research, just see how it settles for you. So yeah, that's it. So thank you so much for being here and for spending the time on this reading. It's been an honor to read for you. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and share. Leave me a comment to let me know how it resonated if you feel so inclined. And if you enjoyed this reading, you can always check out my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot, take a look at my other videos, and subscribe to get notified when I upload more videos and to stay in the loop. But yeah, so it's been great reading for you. I look forward to reading for you again in the future, and I am wishing you all the very best. Hi there, Pile 4. If you chose this little clear quartz crystal, then this is going to be your reading. These are going to be your messages. And again, as I said in the intro, this is going to be a timeless reading. So whenever you happen to come across this video, whenever it finds you and you watch, it's designed to be relevant based on what you're currently going through. And then even if you happen to return later on and choose a different pile, that is an option that's available as well. And so yeah, we're just going to take a look at what you're being guided to release or to let go of, and then what you're being encouraged to move toward in place of that, and how you might go about that. And again, this might not be anything like incredibly specific. It's probably going to be more broad general energies, and because we're talking about what to release, there is likely a certain amount of healing that will be involved. And so it's not necessarily something that's going to resolve quickly. It probably will be, a general theme or something to keep in mind for the next little while. And it is a process. It is a journey. It does take time. But my hope and intention is that this might help to illuminate maybe any specific areas where you're struggling, anything that might be currently holding you back and, just isn't serving you currently, and you might benefit from kind of letting go, and then what you might move toward. So definitely take whatever resonates for you and just keep the rest in mind. It may be beneficial, further on down the road, and depending on where you're at and the level of personal development that you're interested in. I know it's like, it can be daunting. It's a big task as well. The other thing that I want to say about this pile specifically is it was a little bit of a struggle to get these cards to come out. It took a really long time. The energy felt really hesitant, kind of withdrawn, like the cards didn't want to talk. And so that gives me the impression, before we even start, that this might be a really, really deep-seated issue. It might be deeply rooted, something really in your subconscious that you're not fully aware of, so that it might take some really deep digging to get there. Or it could be something that you're aware of and you're really struggling with, or you're really feeling a lot of resistance to, which is totally fine. But I'm just kind of putting it out there that the energy was a little bit challenging in nature. And it was almost kind of like, I got this feeling of confusion before I even like really got any cards out. And I don't know what cards we have here, so we're gonna find out. But just a disclaimer, I'm gonna do my best to kind of work through this energy and to read the best that I can, but I'm just putting it out there that it could be it's definitely the most challenging deck, you know, the reading so far. And so we've got the Rider-Waite deck here. We have 3 tarot cards, the back of the deck energy, and then we have your 2 oracle cards, one of which is the Work Your Light Oracle, which you made your selection based on. So we're going to start off and see. So your first oracle card is Warrior Women, and it says, have you answered your deepest calling? Right. Your second oracle card is Come to Life. Right. And then for tarot, we have the 6 of Wands, 4 of Pentacles, Knight of Pentacles, and finally, Page of Pentacles. Oh my, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why. There's a lot of pentacles. There's a lot of earth energy here. And yeah, that could be why. So immediately the impression that I get is that this reading is very much going to be focused on this pentacles, like this earth energy. So very practical and grounded in nature. It could be very much centered around work or career, finance, the material world. So that can pertain to, your material belongings, your home. It can also relate to family, stability. But it seems like that is like really, really, really highlighted here. So, and immediately it's like money and career. Money and career are what are standing out the most. And also with all this Pentacles energy here, the practical nature of this is that you may be somebody who very much experiences the world through doing, like in the most practical sense. So you might be, it's also kind of like manifestation, right? So there might be something really specific that you're trying to manifest, and that might be in relation to, it could be entrepreneurial, like a business that you are wanting to start or you have started, or an opportunity to make money and to kind of get your finances solid. But yeah, this is just a weird kind of energy. So with Warrior Woman and Come to Life here, it's really, the vibe that I'm getting is like, whatever it is that you're trying to create, like you're meant to manifest this, right? It's meant to be like a kind of tangible project and a tangible outcome. And the idea is like ultimately like stability, success, it could be savings, it could be, that successful business that's been established that, once you put the work in, then you reach a certain level where you're kind of just managing and sustaining, which is ideal, right? But it's telling me like you have a tendency to get very much in your head about things and perhaps like overthink and overanalyze because you're so practical in nature and because what you're trying to create does really require planning, right? It requires planning and it requires like kind of step-by-step execution. Like, for example, with business, if it's something, something especially that you want to be successful, there has to be a kind of like a business plan in place, and you have to kind of know what steps you're going to take and just be consistent in taking them in order to get to where you want to get and to build, right? To establish the foundation and build upward. And so in planning, it can be really difficult to just make the plan and then start working and start moving forward. And even if you are working and moving forward, if you've got a lot of like thoughts, if you've got a lot of mental energy going on, it can be really easy to start like over analyzing and kind of overcomplicating things to the point where you might end up feeling discouraged, or you might get too swept up in your thoughts that might not actually be reflective of the reality of the situation. It might be more based on, you know, your fears and your perceptions about money. But it's telling me like you might even have a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety and like unhelpful thoughts and perceptions or even beliefs when it comes to your ability to be successful, your ability to manifest, your ability to achieve your goal and to have, you know, the stability and abundance that you're looking for. And come to life is basically saying like, you're very much being encouraged to get out of your mind, right? And to recognize that the mind, you know, the mind loves to think and overthink and overanalyze. It loves to be busy. And that's why, especially, that's why the monkey is here, right? So it's pertaining to our monkey mind, right? That kind of just like busies itself and isn't necessarily productive. It's not necessarily in our highest good, the things that our mind kind of does when it remains unchecked. And so it's remembering that like you are not your thoughts and your thoughts are not always like reality, right? So it's really asking you to get grounded into your body, right? And into your awareness of self through your body. So that's going to be a really integral part of you kind of staying the course, right? Because with the Pentacles energy here, it makes sense. Like you need to be grounded in your own energy. You need to be in your body. You need to be able to trust yourself. And it seems like, you know, this is all about manifestation. And it seems like you have that ability, right? It seems like that's kind of what you're here to do. So it's something, it could be even something very practical that you're doing, like a very practical skill or something that you're accomplishing. It could be working with your hands, right? Like it's very much taking your thoughts and your inspiration, but actually like creating something in the physical world with it. And so in order to do that, you kind of have to be in tune with yourself. And so you can see like she's painting herself with thoughts, right? And perceptions that are coming from the monkey mind, which, you know, can be a little bit chaotic and not necessarily helpful. It is what it is, but we can't take that for reality, especially if we have like, you know, challenging thoughts of anxiety or that are led by fear. It's like we don't want that to color our personal experience and our beliefs in ourselves and what we're capable of doing. And so this tells me that you're probably also somebody who experiences the world in a very physical, sensual kind of way. And by sensual, I mean like through the senses. So you might be somebody who really, you know, appreciates like visual stimulation and like touch, feeling things, working with your hands, right? And it could also be that in terms of connecting with your intuition and what is right for you and, you know, kind of that inner wisdom and instinct that's going to help take you along the path that's best for you, you might be somebody that experiences that in a very physical sense. So some people with intuition, it's kind of like a feeling, it's kind of like a knowing. And other people, it's like a very strong physical sensation, like a gut feeling, or it could even be a feeling of like, you know, unease, of sickness. And then the converse of that is like very, you know, high energy, uplifting. So really, when it comes down to whatever it is that you are trying to create and whatever it is that you know you're applying your skill and your ability to, it's important to connect with yourself and get into that energy and pay attention, right? So it's like what are your senses telling you? And to quiet the mind, right? Because the mind isn't necessarily the place where we find truth. A lot of time the truth kind of sits within us and it's more of a feeling and a sensation. It's something more subtle that we have to come to realize. And it's really difficult to do that if our mind is getting away from us. And so with Warrior Woman and Have You Answered Your Deepest Calling, it's telling me that there's still a lot of untapped potential in terms of your ability to manifest, and maybe your fears are keeping you from really actually recognizing what you're capable of, and like fighting through the fear and the noise, right? Because you might take whatever it is that you find to be challenging, and whatever it is that you're fearful of, even if it's like a crippling kind of fear, you might take that as a sign that like you need to be careful, or you need to, shy away from whatever it is that brings that fear up. But that fear is actually saying like, no, like this is part of your path, and there's something within you that is blocking you from connecting with this. So it's basically like it feels counterintuitive to say that like we often approach fear as though it's a protective thing that's keeping us safe, and in some very specific instances it is, but a lot of times fear is just a product of our thoughts, which are not necessarily aligned with the reality or the opportunity that's in front of us. And so in terms of figuring out like what is your deepest calling, what is that to you, what is your fear kind of blocking you from really digging deep and connecting with, helping you do that would be getting into your body. And so also just came to mind, like, so meditation, but breath work specifically might be something that's really helpful, because it might help you to establish more awareness of yourself and your body, and to kind of be able to connect with the more physical sensations, and figure out like even like where you're holding tension, or what inspires tension, and then what feels lighter, what feels more enjoyable, and using that kind of internal compass, because it seems like that's your strength, and that's kind of your strength in terms of manifesting as well. It's like it's a very grounded energy, so it makes sense to me that you would need to really take advantage of that, because it seems like that's your realm. And with the Six of Wands being here, it could be that you are already in a position where you've started to establish yourself, or you've experienced like a base level of success, and you've been moving toward whatever this creation is, whether it's like an entrepreneurial thing, whether it's just like getting your money settled and right and saving for your future, or even if it's like education and educational opportunity. It seems like things are going well, and maybe you've already received some success, or you experienced some success, received some recognition. Or if not, it could be that you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to be successful, and you've got a certain idea of what success looks like to you, and you're not quite there yet. But really you're being asked to kind of let go. So whether it's a resistance to celebrating yourself and your accomplishments, or whether it's being really hard on yourself because you don't feel like you're at a point where you're successful enough to celebrate and acknowledge your efforts, however that makes sense to you, whatever the resistance is around this experience of success and celebration and recognition, it's taking a look and examining like what's blocking you in that sense, either from feeling like you're successful or acknowledging your success. The Six of Wands is also about, recognizing that it's important to take the time to acknowledge, our victories, right? So how far we've come, what we've been able to achieve. It's accepting love and support and recognition from the people around us if they, if they appreciate something that we've done, and, not being shut off to receiving that kind of positive energy. But it's also acknowledging that in spite of a certain level of success and recognition, that your work still isn't done yet. So it's important to take that time and to celebrate yourself and to recognize, because that's going to help motivate you to continue along your path. But it's also not like, it's taking the time and being intentional about it, and not resting on your laurels for too long, because there's more work to be done. There are more steps to take, and inevitably there will likely be more challenges on the road ahead. But it's basically like, this is the time to kind of fortify and keep moving. And so it's about like not staying in that energy for too long also, because with the Four of Pentacles here, the sense that I'm getting is like being wise about your spending, right? And being wise about your money, and making sure that if in the long run that stability is important to you, that you're doing what you need to do now, it's like the concept of like financial like hygiene just kind of came into my, I don't even know why, like I don't really know anything about that specifically, but financial hygiene just came to mind. So it's kind of like having a practice and an approach to your finances that will allow you to start establishing stability or start establishing practices that will lend to, effective saving, but then also still allow you to spend and enjoy your life. So you don't want to be so focused, because this is also like the miser card, right? So you don't want to be so focused on saving that you're not willing to spend any money, right? And especially if it's entrepreneurial in nature or business related, like, they love to say you have to spend money to make money, and obviously that's true to a certain extent, but you don't want to be overextending yourself and spending more than is wise at this time, especially if, and it seems like there is a very good outcome on the horizon for, this to manifest into something like really, really positive, really abundant. So it's just being wise, having a plan of action, having a budget that allows for you to be establishing yourself and saving, but also still living, right? So you don't want to go too far in either direction, because like obviously you need money, but you also need to be able to enjoy your life, and you can't be sacrificing all of your personal happiness or experiences or the things that even just the basic things that you need or want, for the sake of having more money in the bank, right? So it's a balancing act, and that pertains to like your personal life, but also business as well. So if you are starting a business, or if that's something that you're working on, it's also saying like maybe it's important to kind of draw the line between yourself as a person and as a business owner, and have like a separation of bank accounts, and and not limit yourself or overextend yourself, like not go too far in either direction because of your business, right? So it's drawing the line between yourself as a business owner and then yourself as a person, and making sure that you're not neglecting your needs as a person because you're trying to keep your business afloat or make your business successful, and then it's not overextending and reaching too far into that business money to gratify yourself right now and potentially putting your business at risk. So it could be that could be a little bit of, it's a kind of a confusing energy, to be honest with you. But with the Page of Pentacles being here, in the kind of like underlying energy, it tells me that you've kind of recognized this opportunity. You've already seized this opportunity. You've already kind of recognized that there's the possibility of a really abundant outcome, and you're ready to, put the plans into place. And the Knight of Pentacles is basically the next step. So it's like continuing along that path, right? And so it seems like it's just a matter of having a plan of action and finding that balance when it comes to saving your money, not overextending yourself, especially not like if maybe you're celebrating a little too hard. I don't know. But yeah, it's not overextending yourself, but also not being so limiting that you don't have a life outside of work and saving money. And the Knight of Pentacles is like the most detail oriented and like hardworking energy in the whole deck. It's basically like, it can be really positive, but it could also be like really mundane, like trudging through just the day-to-day grind and doing what you need to do to get things done and to be successful. And it might not be super rewarding. You might not feel super successful when you're doing it, because it's the work that needs to be put in, right? To get to the end goal. And so the Knight of Pentacles is all about, just continuing to put your head down and work and do what needs to be done. Like, even if it feels like kind of a thankless job or a thankless task, even if it's a bit like monotonous, It's just recognizing that regardless of how you're feeling about it and the challenge that it poses, that work is necessary. And, step by step, you're getting closer to your end goal. And this is really just the time to keep going. So especially if you're feeling like things aren't moving it forward as quickly as you'd like, just know that seems to be, that's kind of the energy that you're encouraged to be in right now, is like, just keep working, keep going after it, but also take care of yourself, pay attention to your needs. And the there's a lot of conservatism in terms of money and material things. So I'm not saying that you need to limit yourself in that way, but there also could be, you might have a lot of blocks around money and finance. And it's up to you, how you resonate with that or how that shows up in your life. But it might be that whatever you're trying to create, you really want it to be super successful and you want to have like financial stability and abundance as a result of all of this like hard work that you're putting in. But you might have trouble with money. You might have, limiting beliefs around your ability to make money, and that might be making the day-to-day seem even more discouraging, especially if an added kind of challenge is this success and victory, right? If that's what's important to you, then you might, at this point in time, when you're being encouraged to kind of scale back a little bit and, have the plan in place, follow the steps, just keep going, not overextend yourself, and overextend yourself, not just financially, but in terms of your energy as well. Because especially if it's entrepreneurial and you're running your own business or you're doing your own thing, you are your own boss, but you're also your own only employee. It can be really easy to take on too much. And so, something that will help is really taking the time to appreciate what you do have. So this can also be the Four of Pentacles. So it's like really valuing what you do have right now, right? And trying to find and connect with an acknowledgement or a feeling or appreciation of abundance that's in your life right now. And it doesn't have to be just financial. It could be material. It could be your family. It could be, like stable home life, like whatever it is, having gratitude and recognizing that, and connecting with your senses and being aware of how things make you feel as you continue along the path. That's really going to be your power, and not overthinking, right? Like not getting into a really complicated or even like stress induced mindset where you're not able to, maybe you're discouraged from actually, continuing to take those steady steps and putting up with the kind of monotony of the routine while you're on your way there, right? Because especially like in society today, I talk about instant gratification a lot, but at the end of the day, everybody wants to be recognized. Everybody wants to be successful. They want to do well. They want to make a difference. And it can be really hard to have that goal in mind and not be seeing that reflected in your external environment yet. So if being successful and being recognized as successful and experiencing success is something that's really important to you, it's knowing that like you're on the path there and you're putting in the work, and that's really what you have to be focused on right now, it seems. And like not letting your mind get the best of you, right? And not letting your mind convince you that like, it could also be that maybe because success is important to you, and appearing successful, feeling successful, it might also be a situation where, financially, maybe you're trying to create an image of success or project an image of success, either through like it could be through material possessions and status and finance and stuff like that. So maybe maybe that's important to you, not only to experience success in like a business or financial sense, but to project an image of that as well. And maybe you might be tempted to overextend yourself. So maybe overthinking is getting you to a place of insecurity where you're feeling like you're not enough, or you're not successful enough, or things aren't moving forward quickly enough. And so you might be tempted to kind of overextend yourself and like purchase things or spend money that it might be out of your budget, money that you don't have right now, in the hopes that it's going to help you connect with that success, right? So it's like, if you just think of like dress for success, but it's like, okay, if you're dressing for success and you're buying like Chanel, but you've got like a winner's budget, then that is going to interfere with your ability to really manifest that financial abundance that you're looking for, right? And so there's nothing wrong with wanting to experience like the finer things and wanting to feel good and wanting to look good. And absolutely, it's important to make those investments in yourself, but it's also like exercising judgment and like living within your means and knowing that like chances are you will get to a place of abundance, because this is like a very, very hardworking energy. And if you're able to connect with that and just stay really focused on taking the steps and following the plan of action through, or even if you need to revise the plan of action to be a little bit more conservative on the fiscal side of things. But it's basically saying like, you're doing it, you're working there, you're being encouraged to just take the next step and keep on going. And, you know, don't let it get you down if you don't feel like you're where you want to be, or you're not receiving the recognition that you feel like you deserve, because it'll come. And you know, perhaps this seems like a long process. So this could be something that not only you've had in mind for a long time, but it could be something that you've been really working on for a long time, and you've really been pouring your energy into it. And you might just be feeling a little bit like slowed down, or you might be feeling like you've put so much effort into it and it's still not there, and like, will it ever get there? But it will. And if you stop putting so much pressure on yourself to be successful and for things to kind of like really fall into place, it'll allow you to get out of your mind, out of any kind of fears and insecurities, and get into your body and figure out like what you're feeling. Right? And so, for example, when you think about money, when you think about spending, when you think about saving, when you think about your business or whatever this is for you, whatever it is that you're trying to manifest in your life, how do you feel when you're thinking about it? What kind of sensations do you feel in your body, right? Like, are you feeling tense? Does your heart start to race? Does your blood pressure increase, right? So it's telling me that like, to bring more awareness into yourself and what you're experiencing, that physical cues are going to be a big thing. And also, yeah, physically you might experience or connect with your intuition more through the senses. And so getting grounded in yourself and kind of taking time to shut off the mind will really help you kind of identify where your blocks are. But I feel like there's a lot of like, there's money blocks. Like, I feel like you're working so hard to get this stability and to manifest this ultimate abundance that is your dream, but then you're also kind of blocking yourself from it at the same time. And it could be a self-worth thing also with the Six of Wands here. It could be that maybe you don't believe that you have what it takes to be successful, or maybe you're afraid that you won't be successful, or whatever fear that is, whatever blocks you have relating to money and success and your ability to manifest and to have a stable and fulfilling life, that's kind of, that might be slowing you down also. And it's definitely going to make it more difficult for you to keep focusing on those, you know, just the constant work that's needed right now. And yeah, with the clear quartz here, it's like clarity. Yeah, that could be why I'm feeling confused also, because I think that maybe you need a little bit of clarity for yourself, right? And then it's like this like sword of truth here. Then she's standing in her power. So yeah, I think it's really important. Like, only you are going to know what your kind of deepest, darkest fears are. And as I said, because the cards were hesitant to come out, this could be something that you're really, really struggling with. It could be something that you're feeling a lot of resistance on. It could be really deep rooted. And it might be a really, really strong energy that you're up against. So it could take a long time. It might not, but it could take a long time for you to bring your awareness to these blocks and these things that are inspiring fear, or the things that are keeping you from experiencing the success that you're really aiming for. And so, yeah, I would just say take some time to connect with yourself in that capacity. So I think I'm going to leave your reading here. I will get you a couple of affirmations just to tie everything up. One flipped over. So it says, I am at peace with my past. All right, and we'll get you one more. This one says, I don't need to find my purpose will find me. Interesting. To be honest, that just makes me even more confused. This is such a strange reading. I hope this resonates for you. Maybe you guys are feeling confused and conflicted yourselves. But with I'm at peace with my past, whatever's happened in the past, or the people that have been surrounding you, influencing you, perhaps supporting you. This could even be like a generational trauma kind of thing, maybe something that you've been carrying for a long time around money and your ability to be successful. But it's kind of being willing to make peace with that and not carry it forward, right? So to recognize that if it's not working for you, if it's not inspiring you and helping you feel good about what you're doing, and especially if it's sitting heavy, and the sensations that you're experiencing as a result are not really aligned with your highest outcome and your highest self, then it's being willing to kind of take whatever lessons those are, but like be willing to let it go, leave it in the past, make peace with it, and recognize how it's helped you get to where you are, and try and transmute it, try and transform it into something productive for yourself. So don't hold yourself back by living in the past. And it can be tempting, when our minds get going, especially if we're doing like kind of routine, monotonous tasks and we're not necessarily seeing the end results that we're looking for. It can be really easy to let your mind get away from you and keep yourself from really fully committing to moving forward because you're being consumed by past thoughts. So however that resonates for you, I think that's just really good advice in general. And then with I don't need to find my purpose will find me. Maybe your purpose is tied to, whatever business you're creating. Maybe that's why you're struggling with moving forward, or maybe, the money block is that you're trying to do something that's meaningful and that has, purpose, but you're a little bit too focused on the financial aspect of it. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of different energy here. So I'm going to leave it there. I feel like I need clarity for myself now, because this was, I don't know. I hope this makes sense, but this reading felt really, really chaotic. And I actually felt like some resistance to reading it. Like I just wasn't looking forward to it, which is unusual for me. So yeah, it could just be that that's the energy that you're in right now. Maybe you're feeling maybe you're just feeling like you're struggling a little bit, and that's totally okay. But either way, I hope there was some helpful information in here. I hope that this resonated and will help you kind of bring more awareness to whatever is limiting you or holding you back, and to start moving in the direction of something that feels more empowering. I think ultimately that's the most important thing. So yeah, I'm going to leave your reading here. If you enjoyed this reading, please feel free to like and share the video, and even leave a comment. Let me know how it resonates for you. I'd be super curious, especially for this reading, because it's just so bizarre to me. And yeah, if you're interested in more readings like this, you can head on over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot, check out my other videos, and subscribe to my channel to get up to date and notifications whenever new videos are posted. But thank you so much for joining me and spending this time. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to read for you as always, and I'm looking forward to continue reading for you in the future. And in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.